We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves. We making major moves. We going all in, like we got nothing to lose. We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.
What is up, everybody? I'm Mr. Man. I was running back from work, and I hit this place in my run where I found my autopilot so quick. Like, I've never hit it this quick before. Typically, it takes some breath work and not focused breath work. I do this quite often. But your body finds a place of relaxation after all that heavy breathing when you're out there taking in that cold in the lungs there. It's pretty cold. But after a while, your body gets warm, your body heats up, it feels lubricated. You find your zen, you find your church. And not this video here. Well, this video also, the first time I heard it. And then another video, I'm going to play it for you. It'll totally keep you awestruck. I had this whole presentation about CBDCs, about three-tier CBDCs and how it's going to be implemented in terms of their infrastructure, like how the CBDC is created. But this video, the next one, I swear to you, it's like I've never heard such truth out of an individual on these in these conferences before in my life. Profound that someone finally openly said these things. So I want you to hear this guy first. I had shown this video on December 8th, and this is about what can happen with technology when it rolls out and it hits that J curve and it goes up, and then technology happens again and it goes up. We are hitting two industrial revolutions right now. We are in the fourth industrial revolution with blockchain and the fifth industrial revolution with artificial intelligence. This is no joke. I need you to hear this. I need you to hear me. I know the people that follow me know I don't fear monger at all, and I'm not fear mongering now. I just need you to hear this and know that everything you thought about CBDCs and how they're going to be rolled out and what they are is legit. It's all real, but that's for the US and that's it. There's the entire half of the world. That may be with Canada as well, or the NATO countries, including Europe and Germany. But in terms of over in Africa, over in Singapore, over in the emerging economies, they are going to have a difficult time taking it as well, but it'll be different, I feel, from the States, because a lot of these other countries in the world have already experimented with it. Anyways, watch this. Listen to this guy first, okay?
First of all, I'm not a technologist. I'm probably the dumbest person on this panel. So I'm just an average guy on the street.
Don't be modest.
observing and using technology, that's all. And I'm sure that 7 out of the 8 of us here on the stage would say very nice things and good things. So allow one black sheep to give you a little bit of a warning, if you will. Technology is, in my opinion, irreversible. Once invented, it will continue to be extant. But on the other hand, technological effects on persons and on societies can be reversed. By that I mean, since the day of the Renaissance, 600, 700 years ago, technology went up. And then since the Industrial Revolution, technology went up again. And for the most part, it is for the good of mankind. There are terrible things as well. Weapons of mass destruction was created in this century, but it is under management. So far, technology has been very positive for society and for mankind. However, as I project out into the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years, I see technology taking off as a J curve, like a hockey stick. And when it begins to climb, steeper and steeper, I do worry the ability of individuals like you and me, as well as societies, to adjust to the changes. Just consider OpenAI, what it may do. Just consider the ethics issues in biotech. So I fear that as the J-curve begins to rise, that the effect of technology, which has been until recently much more good than bad, may turn and have a lot more bad than good. My question is, are we ready for it? On globalization, it's a similar thing. Obviously, geopolitical situation has driven a lot of the deglobalization. helped by technology. Technology helped in the globalization, and technology can also help in the deglobalization. For example, in the old days, you have extractive industry, agriculture, and so forth. And then people progress to become manufacturing-based, manufacturing-led, and finally digitalization, financialization of the economy. That is a progression that mankind has seen. Mm-hmm. My question is, in those three stages, what is the fourth stage? In a world of deglobalization, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we will need all three of those. We will need the food production, we will need the fishery, we will need the extractive industry, we will need the manufacturing, and we will also need the digitalization economy. So I think that I'm finishing.
I have an additional question for you.
Yeah. My worry is that in the world of globalization, you can, like America, only 2% of the population, less than 2% are in agriculture. Yeah. Manufacturing is basically gone in America. You can still live very, very well. But going forward, as the world deglobalizes, I submit to you that we need all three. So big countries will have advantage, such as America, such as China, such as Russia. But a lot of the smaller places will have a problem finding food, finding mineral, finding energy, and so forth.
So my follow-up question on you is on what you said earlier about technology. Okay, in a way, technology is that OpenAI is a good example, right? Because remember, when it started, it was OpenAI. It was supposed to be non-profit, supposed to be for the good of humanities, and then now it becomes more for profit. Are we losing this balance? Where are we in this capitalistic world? We're talking about investment forum. While we're doing that, do we have some social responsibility and think about the impact on humanity? What do you think?
Well, the strange thing is this, that technology really exacerbates one phenomenon that in my books, you don't have to believe the way I do, has been changing very fast, and that is the moral standards has been changing around the world. We all move in the same direction. Doesn't matter you're European, you're Middle Eastern, Asian, France. We all move in the same direction in terms of moral standards. Whether you consider it as higher or lower, that's up to you. But whatever it is, that is changing very fast. And I do worry that it has changed to a point that is anti-science, anti-biology, and I just don't see how it's going to end well. So my last statement is this. There's another divide in the world, not just technological divide, not just economic divide, but there's another divide in the world, and that is the moral divide. Today, consider this. India, the biggest country in the world. China, the second biggest. The Muslim world, 1.7 billion people, roughly. And then Russia. You put all these things together, these places together, that's about 5 billion people, which is about 60-some% of the world's population. Yeah. Their belief, their moral standard is very different.
So, for this next video here, guys, I need to show you this, okay? Out of a world of 8-something billion people here, or 7-something, the stats always change. I don't know what they are. Look at this. We are 65, and I'm sure I watched this video twice. Go to this channel here. Please go to this channel. These guys are the most realist people I've ever heard discuss this in a payments council, not council, but payments conference here. This is the most realist crypto payments and the advancements in payments infrastructure panel discussion, okay? This is by, who are these people? World Block Summit. Believe me, if I was a rapper, I would say this is the realest shit I ever wrote. I didn't write this, but you have to hear this. Listen to this. All right?
Products, but the way that the revenue is derived and the way that that revenue is distributed to quote-unquote shareholders is massively different. And so I think one needs to understand this in order to properly regulate it.
So, staying on decentralization, a controversial topic is, can anything be truly decentralized at an institutional level when we're talking about, again, for the purposes of this topic, payments? Can MasterCard use it? No, right? Can certain countries for it? No, right? So the short answers are quickly no. Can it be truly decentralized? No, right? As a solution to what you just mentioned, community and usership.
When you say, can it be truly decentralized, what is it?
For the purposes of this conversation, a payment. right? The infrastructure for payments and transactions for what a Forex.
I think one would argue that Ethereum is decentralized, and I can pay you ETH right now in a very decentralized fashion, peer-to-peer permissionless.
How would it work with crypto to fiat?
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's what we're at, right? We're at a crossroads right now where we need to solve these problems, or else we're just going to be crypto.
Yeah.
We're just going to be digital assets, and that's it. We're never going to get the respect or the money of that side. And so I'm trying to find a way outside of, regulations. And so again, I look to like MasterCard, I look to Visa, what are they doing? What are they looking at? And I'll get there, but just because you segued there, and it's a topic that everybody wants to talk about and learn about, it's coming whether you like it or not, CBDCs. And so how is that going to
Just quickly to give you some context, this lady here works at MasterCard, okay? That's why they said that how's MasterCard, how's Visa going to accept this?
work with this infrastructure, right? How is MasterCard as a corporate level going to participate with governments? How is the governments going to participate with other governments, blockchains with other blockchains, right? So I think we're very far removed from a pinnacle, if we're even in stage one, if we can say, but you know, risks and advantages associated to CBDCs, let's be very honest about it. And like, what are you guys looking at? If tomorrow CBDC was announced, the e-dirham or the e-dollar, where is your position?
So MasterCard has been supporting many customers around the world, government in CBDCs. And I think we can talk about CBDCs, but similarly we can talk also about tokenized deposit, which is another way today to have a trust in the token, right? Because it is issued by a trusted company, which is in this case a financial institution, right? So just stepping back a little bit, what are the challenges that we see today? We see that for crypto to gain mainstream adoption, there is an issue of trusting counterparties. So being able today to know that the counterparty in a transaction is a compliant counterparty, that his a digital identity or identity is validated, etc., right? The second thing is the trust in the technology, and especially when it comes to cross-chain kind of a technology, right? How, especially that these are associated with a lot of scams, theft, cyber attacks, etc. There is also a problem of trust in the, as I said, in the token, and this is where things like CBDC, tokenized deposits, and also stable coins come into the picture. So the way we are trying to approach that is by building what we call the multi-token network, MTN. So MTN is a scheme, actually. You can look at it as a scheme of which is a group of validated identities and counterparties that form a network that overlay on the top of different blockchain, whether they are private or public, and which where there is actually there is a set of standards and rules that enable these people to work together. So what we are trying to bring is really a mechanism, for example, for validating the identity of the for different participants through crypto credential, for instance. What we are trying to bring also is standards for consumer consumer protection, right? Which is today something that is lacking a lot when it comes to interaction between different counterparties, and the trust in the technology and the fact that it's compliant, and so at the different level of the individuals, the tokens, and the technology, we are talking about a compliance scheme.
Aziz, I think you want to say something?
Well, I do also believe that putting regulation and putting some, let's say, a kind of Canva, if I understood, a Canva for people to get into that kind of type of payment is a good thing. But like in the spectrum of EML to KYC, KYB, we're lost in somewhere in that spectrum, the decentralized aspect. So I do believe that there is a right middle between being a total decentralized entities and, as you said, freedom in somehow, and between the other part, which is a worldwide jungle, you know,
Yeah,
Like-
look, I think I'm going to jump in before him because CBDCs, I think he's going to have a very strong view. Look, I mean, there's obviously...
Give your honest review, right? Because like I led you in. I left the door open to tell an honest review. Are we going to get payments like crypto acceptance before, or is just one going to show up tomorrow morning at our front steps?
Look, so I think in the world of payments and crypto, there's P2P decentralized, and then I think, as you said, there's a centralized version of it, right? Stable coins or CBDCs, whatever that ends up being. The thing is that if you look at the CBDC pilots that have happened in Nigeria and some other places, none of them have really worked. And that's because distribution is always the issue, right? So there's one element of trust, and we can talk about that too, but I think if you want any payment system, any payment network to happen, whether it's MasterCard or it's a crypto payment, distribution has to be there. So when you walk into your favorite coffee shop or you take a taxi, people want to be able to pay with this. And in the end, the general public doesn't care if it's a blockchain payment or if it's a fiat payment. All they want is to be able to transfer value to someone. And if you don't have enough distribution or enough points where you can actually pay with something, then people just aren't going to be using that. So I think for CBDCs personally, I think it's a very long view. I think there's a lot of work that still has to be done. And we obviously have to get over the initial hurdles around, trust and everything else.
Kyle, I'd like to hear what you think about this, because CBDCs, in my opinion, we should all have an opinion, but I want to lead you into talking about if CBDCs tomorrow morning, legislation of America, or here in Dubai, someone says, great, we're announcing the e-dirham, right? What does that look like in the first 90 days of it being implemented? Okay, I can go to pay government services for, my passport control or visa. That makes a lot of sense, ground level. How about the candy store or the laundromat or, something like that? What does the first 90 days look like when a CBD gets announced?
So I want to speak, I want to respect the UAE here and just admit that I have no idea, very much how the government and regulations work here. I can only speak to where I grew up. Even though I haven't lived in America for 6 years, I'm very familiar with the way that monetary and fiscal policy work over there. And you have a very divisive and opinionated public over there. And you've got a lot of people who happily go along with the things that the government asks them to do. And then you have a lot of people who ask questions and wonder if this is really in their own best interest. Right now, I think it would be very unpopular to try to enter a CBDC into the American population, and they know that, right? And they know, and I don't think that America has been watching China work on a CBDC for 5 or 6 years and doesn't have one in their back pocket ready to go. I think that they absolutely do. The question is, how are they going to implement it, right? And we know that the government, unfortunately in America, left the great vision of a very radical idea with very minimal government intervention and very much a pure democracy to a very controlling state where you saw that even more recently than ever with lockdowns. But in order for them to usher in a radical new idea, they need to create an environment to where the public is asking for it, right? And you have a very particular time in America happening right now where you have CPI or inflation increasing, still not under control. Interest rates are higher than ever. Bond markets are crashing. The highest stimulus injection into the economy ever outside of wartime and pandemic was just announced by the Biden administration, almost $1 trillion. We're inflating the monetary supply by over $1 trillion a year for the past 20-something years on average. So you have a very, very unsustainable system that's happening right now that they cannot kick the can down the road much longer. People are starting to lose faith in the ability for the U.S. to pay back their debts. This is why the bond market is not doing so well. And people are going to look elsewhere to put their money. So how do you implement something like a CBDC, which gives much more control to the government over what you choose to do with your money? Things like if they need to stimulate the economy, they can make it so that your money expires if you don't use it after a certain period of time. Well, they need an event to happen where people are asking for it. So in my opinion, the way that the US CBDC gets introduced is eventually probably 2025, 2026, after you have the elections that come through and you have essentially what's looking like hyperinflation. Something has to break. We all know that something has to break. The Fed has said it many times in the past. And people like Ray Dalio and other people are calling for this, lots of data to back this up. So this looks like a 1930s, Great Depression type of event that happens. This will put everybody out of work, this will put everybody out of food, and people will be scared, right? People who have had safety and security, food and shelter will be scared for the first time in a long time and not knowing what to do, right? And then you will have whoever is in office and running at the time will come out with the solution, right? Everyone's really hungry, scared, out of work, doesn't have any money. And so the solution will be, hey, you know, we are modern, we're hip, we're cool, we use blockchain. It's not real blockchain, it's a centralized blockchain, but we use blockchain. And we have a way better monetary system. The guys of the past, they tried their best, it was a failed system. Now we're putting everything on blockchain, it's gonna be transparent, you guys can trust us, blah, blah, blah. And we know that you're hurting right now, we're sorry the economy sucks. All you have to do is download this app, scan your face, connect all your accounts, and we will instantly send you, $1,200 of stimulus so that you can go buy food and groceries and, pay your mortgage, pay your rent. And this has to happen. I already know right now that that it will not be openly accepted with open arms, but as we know, when the US had all of their privacy stripped away from them after 9/11, they made this huge bill about the Patriot Act and how it was going to be the anti-terrorist bill. But what they really did was sign away all of our rights to privacy, for them to wiretap our phones and look at all of our conversations. This would have never happened if you didn't have this big event happen prior that made everybody terrified of terrorists. And so these events happen in America. It's historically known. CIA leaks, this is not, I'm not wearing a conspiracy theory hat. I'm just being logical, in my opinion, anyway. So CBDC is something, and I hope that other governments and things like that do it in a way that is beneficial for the people. I don't think America's will be.
So, you're American, right?
Yes.
Not
for much longer.
Yeah, irrelevant, but good to know, right? Because, so that's I was going to say, tell us what you really think, but that's the America side. We know it's got problems, but overnight, we also seen that if it shifts, it would be a market leader, right? Overnight. If you get Visa, MasterCard, a couple banks, and a couple blockchains in the same room, it's just like 2008 all over again, and you can reset the financial system overnight.
Exactly.
Right? So I agree with the catalyst. A catalyst is always necessary. But, when we're talking about maybe the positive side, completely opposite, and I respect the fact that you said you may not know the UAE, but it's exactly opposite, right? It would be used for positive purposes. It would be used for that payment side. Now, I use positive loosely, but I know you guys want to jump in, but...
I can jump in for a second.
I want to lead you toward okay, what if the UAE or countries like Singapore, Hong Kong overnight did it?
So over here they have a CBDC pilot that's been going on for quite some time. It's basically a cross-border wholesale payment testing that they've been doing, which is better than SWIFT and everything else, right? It's instant, real-time settlement with India and China and a few other countries, not retail for now. So some of the concerns that you talked about, still not here. But it's more for B2B payments, and it clearly solves the issue of waiting 3, maybe 5 days for a large volume of payment to reach another market.
Well, just want to drop on what you just said here, rising awareness is one of the main important thing to maybe make people knows about that kind of thing. And stuff's happen in that month, for example, there is a lot of stuff that came to the market, MasterCard is allowing USDC as a payment. There's a lot of information, even with PayPal and so on. But no one knows. You see, it's the role of the actors of the blockchains and that Web3 ecosystem to raise the awareness and let's say give the people what they are looking for. It's not mainstream. Let's be honest. No one, 1 out of 10 knows the actuality on the blockchains and knows what is happening. So I guess it's our duty and our role as, if I may say, actors in that file to raise awareness for people who don't know about what is happening. And that's how we can get to your point, the decentralizing and
I'll say what Kyle said, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Super American, term. Another super American term, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I like that one more because that's what's happening right now. We're talking about tokenization of real estate. We're talking about real world asset tokenization. We're talking about CBDCs. We're talking about things completely out of our control. There's nothing this panel can do today to affect any change tomorrow in any one of those topics. And that's fact, right? If someone's listening out there with the power to do so, then it can happen. Because these things do happen overnight. I like what you said. They're not just thought of last night. They've been doing this for years, decades, right? They just come to a pinnacle here. I want to shift a little bit toward the end of the conversation, talk a little bit about the tech side. And I think the interoperability thing is a major topic because not only if we're going to compete with Forex, if we're going to compete fiat to crypto, crypto to crypto, and crypto to fiat, these are all licenses that you need, on-ramp, off-ramp. But how does interoperability look like? What technologies are being built currently, or what are we looking to build to help with TPS, to help with interoperability, to get the regulators to where they need to go to say, hey, MasterCard, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when it comes to MasterCard, as I said, we look at it mainly from the angle of the rules and standards, right? And the scheme that will be put in place in order for the different blockchain to talk together. And as I said, we want to have a network overlay actually on the top and extending into the existing blockchain so that these blockchains can talk together. So coming back a little bit to the CBDCs as well, and you've been asking the question of what will happen, right? What will happen is that, coming back also to the basics, what do customers want today? They want faster transactions, they want lower costs, they want the possibility not to pay transaction fees or cross-border transaction fees, and this can be enabled by blockchain and by virtual asset and by the different way we are adopting that today, whether we're talking about CBDCs or tokenized deposits or etc. Right? But the fact is that if tomorrow you launch that, how will you be able to get those technologies to talk together so that I'll be able to use my currencies to buy goods and services from merchants, right? So it's really today a problem of articulation of this technology and being able to get those standards and rules and check and balances in place so that we ensure consumer protection and we ensure that those use cases come to life.
Well, I guess that there is some steps that was taken, as I said, this month. I heard that Polygon is working with Chainlink to provide the kind of cross-chain which will be reliable. Also, Cosmos, I guess, is doing something like this at the moment. And as I said about awareness, no one knows that those kind of deals are made, and no one I don't know if the word exists, vulgarizing or vulgariser in French, the things. Like no one is able to make it that easy for the normal people to understand. Because there is a huge steps that are taken. I think both of actors, like in the TradeFi and DeFi, are working together. Some old companies, like banks, like JP Morgan, for example, are taking steps and making it like more sustainable, if I may say.
So banks and institutions are coming to DeFi. Agree or disagree? Quick, one answer word. Agree. Banks and institutional players are coming to DeFi.
Disagree.
They should.
Agree or disagree?
Agree totally. They are obliged.
Disagree.
Okay, great. I agree. I broke the tie. So it's 3-2. No, but I give you my 2 cents. Banks are coming for the boomers' money. Boomers, baby boomers, right? They own 85 to 95, arguably, percentage of the purchasing power of most economies around the world. That's not going to change for another 15 to 25 years if longevity in medicine does its thing. Okay, so the banks want their money. They don't care about most of this room's money. If they're going to get their money and they're going to talk about things like DeFi and it gets appetizing because their son and daughters that are now 40 and 50 are saying, hey, look at this really neat product. I'm making tens of percents, not pennies on the dollar. I'm just speaking about America, 0.001% savings rate. So when DeFi gets introduced by JP Morgan And it's an 8 to 20% type of CD bond, like they did in the 80s, 90s, currently with these terrible interest rates. But it's a DeFi, it's a CDFi, let's be honest, solution. Why are the banks not then coming? Or why would you say you disagree then?
I think from my point of view, I was speaking to banks in UAE, Saudi, Qatar, and a bunch of other markets here. The banks are still very concerned about crypto. I think if anyone's actually operating a company here, just getting a bank to give you an account if you're a crypto company is already very, very difficult. If you look at some of the banks in Singapore and some other markets, they enable on-ramp and off-ramp as a way for customers to get into DeFi. But as a bank offering either leveraging a DeFi protocol or offering their own DeFi platform or something, I think we're still far away from that here in this part of the world.
Yeah, and I want your answer too, but I think what's happening here, it's funny, but it's actually very necessary. It's an East versus West thing. Because the West, in the banks, they're the most terrible, just all the cuss words you can think of in the book, but they also run the show. They're also the politicians, they're also the government, so the central bank listens to them and vice versa. So if it wanted to happen, it can happen tomorrow, quite literally. So when I say the banks are coming, it's because that's where the power is. So if they see power in this technology or this industry, it can happen overnight. That's why I want to know what you disagree.
Most
but
of
it
the
is the
banks
East
are
versus West.
exploring crypto, right? Being able to say, for example, that tomorrow we're going to have banks who are launching their own DeFi products, I think we are a little bit far from that. But they are all interested into crypto. I think there are different levels, right, for a bank or financial institution to engage with crypto. Starting from the very beginning, which is access, right? Are you allowing your customers to buy crypto? This is the first level, right? And the answer is not necessarily yes every time. Sometimes they are allowing their customers to buy crypto, but most of the time they are a little bit scared. And the problem for them is really a problem of compliance. They are not necessarily today, they don't have the certainty about the fact that their customers are not engaging with VASP that are associated to money laundering or to terrorism or whatever, right? So this is the first level for them, and there are today tools that enable them to understand if there is a certain level of risk associated to that transaction, yes or no. So this is really the first level. The second thing that I'm seeing a lot of banks exploring today, and probably Fuse will be able to talk about it also, is custody, right? The fact is that today, even if there is a lot of interest for crypto, there is also a big amount of people who are not comfortable engaging with DeFi or even with centralized exchange. This is a reality. We have conducted a study in the US, and 70% of the respondents said that they would be interested in holding crypto if they are able to store it in their bank account. Right? So this is the level of comfort that financial institutions bring actually to the customers today. So we are also talking to a lot of customers today who are exploring the fact of enabling their customers to buy, sell, and hold crypto from the banks and not necessarily from this. And there is a lot of interest for that, and companies like Fuse today do enable those banks to offer those kind of services. Now, I think where it really becomes interesting is when banks start exploring the efficiency that can be brought by blockchain and digital assets and bring that into their financial institutions. And looking at things like, for example, tokenized deposit is probably today where the financial institutions are putting a lot of focus. And this is where we as MasterCard are seeing the future of the engagement of banks with digital assets.
Did you want to say something?
I just think that it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, because like you said, it's all about efficiency, and there's so many inefficiencies in the traditional system. There's so many middlemen that take their fee on the way out. If you can do a peer-to-peer transaction without middlemen, it's just a more efficient process. And with the ability, like chain that you were asking about, interoperability across chains, CCIP from Chainlink is probably one of the most important things that's happened to our industry since Ethereum or Bitcoin. And its ability to essentially, and they're already been doing proof of concepts and trialing with SWIFT for the past 5 years. They're working with DTCC in the United States, which is the government-mandated clearinghouse for all of the securities. They process $2.5 quadrillion annually in value, and they're also working with ANZ Bank in Australia, and also Barclays was involved in that trial as well. So CCIP is important, but the point I wanted to make is that I don't think that banks are in any immediate danger in the next 5 or 10 years, but I do think that anyone who's under the age of 25 right now, and it's probably as they get older, they're not going to want to put their money in a bank. Banks are untrustworthy, right? And right now you do see things like that when the banks fail, they get bailed out. But as soon as a bank fails and they don't get bailed out, that's going to be a big awakening for people that realize that when you deposit your money in a bank, you don't actually own your money anymore. And for the first time ever, we as individuals have the power to be our own bank. And so I think that banks, if they want to survive and continue the legacy, you look at JP Morgan or you look at Goldman Sachs, whatever, in order for them and that legacy to continue on, they're going to have to figure out how to innovate and remain as efficient as decentralized products. And so them themselves will have to cannibalize their own business model. Them themselves will have to be able to create, if they want to survive, they're going to have to create an actually decent, because there's no way to compete with decentralization from an efficiency perspective. So the only way for that name to carry on is if they actually cannibalize their own business eventually and build a truly decentralized financial system.
CDFI or DeFi? I think we'll see intersection of the two. I like the very vast answers here. We got a couple, but again, I'll go back. It's a very East versus West thing. I know you haven't lived in the West for a couple of years, but your mindset, similar to mine, it does come from the West and opposite over there because you're spending more time out here. And then the idea of CBDCs being negative and potentially positive, it's an interesting mix. But if we're so far apart, how is interoperability going to exist again? That's not a question, it's just rhetorical, and that's the headache here. I don't know if we have time.
I hope you found value in that, because I know I did. That was just like nothing I've heard before, seriously. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go. Love y'all. See you on the next one.
We making moves. We making major moves. We making moves.